Hello again. Another great story today. Oh, it's a great story today about somebody, you might have heard of him, Aladdin. You remember him? He's the guy who's got a magic lamp. And can you remember what happens when he rubs the lamp? Well, let's see. Let's start the story. Have a look. It was a boiling hot day in China when Aladdin made the mistake of telling his genie how he would like to sail on the ocean to help him cool down. In an explosion of magic, Aladdin's wish was granted, and he was whisked through the air and across a vast ocean to tumble down the mast of a galleon far out to sea. But he could tell from the skull and crossbones flag that this wasn't quite the kind of sailing ship he had hoped for. Aladdin had landed on the ship of that most evil of pirates, Captain Horrible, whose mother had named him well. The captain had heard stories about Aladdin and his wonderful lamp. He quickly snatched it from the boy's hand. "It'd be time this here genie had a new master," grinned Captain Horrible, rubbing the lamp to summon forth the magical genie. Just then, a shout went up from the lookout in the crow's nest as a ship suitable for looting hove in sight. At the captain's command, the genie conjured up a host of frightful demons. "That ship won't know what hit it," Captain Horrible laughed merrily. As the demons attacked the ship, its crew were so horrified that they leapt into the sea in sheer terror. The Marie Celeste would go down in legend for the mystery of its vanished crew. While the pirates celebrated their victory, Aladdin spoke with the genie. "You can't serve the pirates. We have to stop them," he said. "Their own greed will stop them," smiled the genie. Next, the pirate captain ordered the genie to make it rain gold coins. With a grin, the genie obeyed, and coins started to tumble from the sky. An hour later, a mountain of gold coins covered the ship's deck, and still they continued to fall. "I'm the richest man in the world," roared the pirate. The gold coins poured from the sky until the whole ship sank under the weight. "Much good his wealth will do him at the bottom of the ocean," smiled the genie as he flew Aladdin back home to safety. What about that genie? He's great, isn't he? But you've got to be careful what you wish for with him, as Captain Horrible found out. Be very careful what you wish for. It might come true.
Oh, hello everybody. I didn't see you there. Did you know about the Dragon of Allerton Oak? You don't? Let Rory and I tell you all about it. Long, 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 long ago, in Liverpool, there was a mighty, ancient oak tree. And that tree was very special, and it was used by all of the animals as a gathering place. Every week they would meet under its beautiful leaves and talk about their problems and their anxieties. And do you know who helped them? You'll never guess. They'll never guess. The wisest creature of them all. And that wise creature was Luna the owl. She lived in another tree over the other side, right by the ancient stones. They had been there even longer than the tree. Every week, Luna would come out of her tree, she'd swoop down, she would glide 3 times around the stones, and then she would swoop in to the oak tree to listen to the animals. One day, the animals heard a terrible, terrifying, awful roaring sound. It filled the sky. When they looked up, they could not believe what was there. A dragon. A red, fire-breathing, terrifying dragon that swooped in and came into land next to their tree. "This looks like the perfect place for my new lair, said the dragon, looking at the tree with satisfaction. The animals gasped with horror. How on earth could they possibly let this dragon have their tree? It was for everyone to share. So, Squirrel very bravely cleared his throat and stepped forward to speak to the dragon. Excuse me, Mr. Dragon, you're very welcome to our woods. Can we show you around and maybe help you choose a tree? No, said the dragon. I've chosen this tree. I like this tree. I'm making my lair right here. You see, said Hedgehog timidly, the tree is for everyone to share, and we'll help you find somewhere else that will be just as nice. Uh-oh. No! Roared the dragon. I like this tree. I've made up my mind. I'm staying here. And with that, he took to the sky and he flew up and up and up and started to make a nest for himself at the top of the tree. The animals didn't know what to do. What on earth could they do? They couldn't let the dragon have the tree. It was for everyone to share. It had always been for everyone to share. I know. We'll go and see Luna, they said. And so they scampered away as quickly as they could. And as they crossed over to Luna's tree, they wondered what she would do to help. Squirrel ran up Luna's tree and knocked on her door. Luna came out onto her branch. What seemed to be the problem? There's a terrible, fire-breathing, terrifying dragon, and he's come to our tree and he says he wants it himself and he won't share it anymore. We'll see about that, said Luna, and she fluffed up her feathers and she spread her wings. She stepped off her branch. She flew 3 times around the ancient stones and swooped in to speak to the dragon. When she got there, she flew right up to him and looked him in the eye. And she said, "Welcome to our woods, Mr. Dragon. You are very, very welcome to come and share them. Why don't you let us show you around? You can find another tree that will be just as good for your lair." "No," said the dragon. "I've made up my mind. I like this tree. It will be perfect for my lair. I am not moving." "Well, I'm sorry, that's impossible," said Luna. "This tree is for everyone to share. It always has been. As I said, we will help you find something else." "No!" roared the dragon, and smoke started to pour from his nostrils. He looked very, very cross. "I am not leaving this tree," he said. "I am staying put. Now take yourself off before I decide that roasted owl is on the menu for dinner." No. "Well, I will give you until tomorrow to change your mind," said Luna. And with that, she spread her wings and she flew back to her stones. I wonder if that dragon will change his mind. What do you think? We don't think so. The very next day, Luna came out of her tree. She spread her wings. She flew 3 times around the stones and swooped back to the dragon to speak to him. She flew right to the top of the tree and she looked him in the eye and she said, "Have you changed your mind? All you have to do is say sorry to the animals, and that way you can stay and we can all share the woods together." "I've had plenty of time to think about it," said the dragon, "and I'm not changing my mind. I like this tree. I'm staying right here." And smoke started to pour even more thickly from his nostrils. The animals all around could feel the heat rising. "Then I'm sorry. You have left me no choice," said Luna. And she flew round and round and round the tree. The dragon got ready to try and breathe fire on her. Just as he opened his mouth, ready to burst with flames, something very odd happened. A great big rainbow-coloured cloud filled the whole of the sky above the tree and the dragon until they were completely and utterly covered. Once that had happened, Luna let out a mighty screech. Eee! Almost at once there was a massive crash of thunder and a dreadful flash of lightning. As soon as the thunder and lightning had stopped, Luna stepped forward and she said to the animals, "Don't worry. The dragon has gone." The animals looked up. They looked down. They looked this way and that way. The dragon was gone. And do you know, ever since that day, that dragon has never been seen in Liverpool ever since. But if you go to Calderstones Park in Liverpool and find your way to the Allerton Oak, you will see the terrible mess that dragon has left. It doesn't look good. It certainly doesn't. And so the next time somebody says to you, "Oh, that tree, it was hit by lightning or there was a storm," you will know better and you'll be able to say, "Oh no, it wasn't. It was the dragon of Allerton Oak."
This is the story about a little pug puppy called Puggalugs. Puggalugs was born on the 5th of November, which is easy to remember because it is bonfire night. Little puppies are always born with their eyes closed. He was only 2 weeks old and he could not see a thing. Puggalugs was born at the same time as his brother Doug and his sister Bella. Puggalugs and Bella are both fawn in colour. Doug has a shiny black coat with a little tuft of white fur on his chest. Bella is much smaller than her brothers. Puggalugs and his brother and sister belong to a family: Mum, Dad, Grandad and little Connor, and of course Mummy Pug and Daddy Pug. They live in a house near a beautiful lake. As the puppies were born in the winter time, the lake was completely frozen, but inside their house it was nice and warm. Puggalugs shared a bed with his brother and sister. There wasn't much room in the bed at all. It was a very tight squeeze, but at least they were cosy and warm. The puppies were so squashed together in their bed that sometimes, while they were asleep, they would kick each other in the head with their little paws. Puggalugs was so small that he was able to fit in little Connor's hand. He had a curly tail, a scrunched up flat nose and big floppy ears. Puggalugs was about to open his eyes for the very first time. He opened his eyes and blinked 3 times. He looked around at his cosy bed, his brother and sister and his surroundings. "Wow," said Puggalugs. He could see everything. Puggalugs looked around at all of the exciting things that he could see, but then all of a sudden, "Ouch!" he shouted. He had been donked on the head by a tiny paw. His brother Doug had been stretching out in his sleep and had accidentally kicked him. Pug puppies love to sleep and stretch too. Puggalugs was now 4 weeks old and he was growing stronger every day. He decided that it was finally time to climb out of bed and stretch his little legs. He gathered all of his strength, stood up for the first time and wobbled his way out of bed. There was no stopping him, once he'd got used to the shiny, slippery kitchen floor. "Yippee!" said Puggalugs. "Here goes." It was time to explore this exciting new world. He stumbled upon a strange object. It was soft and squashy. What could it be? It must be Grandad's slipper. Puppies love to chew, and they will chew anything they can get their paws on. Puggalugs was a very lucky puppy. He and his brother and sister had lots of toys to play with. They were not allowed to play outside yet because they were too young, and it was far too cold for little puppy paws. Puggalugs liked to play with his toys, but most of all, he loved to play with his brother and sister. They would have hours of fun chasing each other around the kitchen. Puggalugs was now 8 weeks old and he loved to eat puppy food. His favourite flavour was chicken and he also loved milk. Pug puppies are hungry all of the time and they are very messy eaters. They get food all over their faces and sometimes in their ears too. Puggalugs like to eat 6 times a day. After all, he was a growing pup and he was growing fast. After tea time, Puggalugs liked to take a nap with his brother and sister. They would cuddle up in bed and make lots of funny noises as they slept. I bet you didn't know that puppies could snore. Pug puppies do. Puggalugs does. But Doug was the loudest snorer in the whole house. After a relaxing puppy snooze, the 3 pups were full of beans. "Playtime! Let's go and explore," said an excited Pugalugs, and off they went around the house to see what they could find. "I wonder what's up there," asked Pugalugs as he looked up at the tall staircase. To the puppies, the staircase looked as big as Mount Everest. They could hardly reach the first step. Pugalugs was a very curious little puppy. He had discovered lots of exciting things inside his home, but what he really wanted to do was play outside. Unfortunately, he was still only 8 weeks old, and he would have to wait until he was a little bit bigger and a bit older. If only he knew what exciting adventures lay ahead. To be continued. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story of Pugalugs, and we hope you'll join us again soon.
Audrey and Claude. Audrey and Claude. 2 baby elephants, Audrey and Claude, went for a swim at the baths. They jumped and dived and splashed in the water, which was fun and a lot of laughs. "I've had enough!" a lifeguard screamed. "Please climb out of the pool! You 2 naughty animals have broken an important rule." "Why, what's up?" asked Audrey. "We haven't done anything wrong." The lifeguard stirred and shouted out, "Your trunks are far too long." Think about that one.
Hello, welcome to the show. Today's story is about Sophia, the girl who could see stories, and what happened when she decided to fill her tummy with happy tales. Once, there was a girl who could see stories. Everything has a story. Every person, every object, even every smell has a past. There is a place where it began and a journey that led to where it is today. The girl called Sophia could see them all. One day, she went into town with her dad. They passed 2 ladies who were laughing loudly with tears rolling down their jolly faces. "What do you think they're laughing at?" her dad asked. In that instant, the girl could see the joke. She could see that the women were old friends having fun. They had danced together on many holidays and walked to school side by side long before that. Sophia and her dad headed to their favourite fast food restaurant and took a table by the window. As they filled their tummies, they watched the people go by outside. She could see their stories too. There was a man running because he was late for his bus. There was a lady cycling to work who had travelled all over the world to interesting places. People hurried up and down the busy street, and she could see every journey they had ever taken. Sophia loved stories because every one taught her something new about the world. When she grew up, she chose a house filled with tales of laughter, family parties, and love. She danced to the music of the past in a hallway where children had been welcomed home from school. She bought chairs where big bottoms had sat comfortably and an old telephone that had heard 1,000 whispered secrets. Now and then, she still took her favourite table in her favourite fast food restaurant and looked out of the window. She enjoyed watching the world go by as she filled her tummy. That is until one day, when she looked down at her beef burger and she saw its story. Her beef burger did not have a happy story to tell. As she looked at it, she saw fear. In that moment, she realised that not all stories were happy ones. Once Sophia noticed the sadness in her burger, she began to see it in other places too. From supermarkets, cafes and cupboards, the things that people called food began showing her their tales. They were tales of short lives, of dry soil where plants struggled to grow, and of factories filled with animals who had been taken away from their mums and dads so they had nobody left to love them. She wished that she couldn't see these stories. What could she possibly eat now she could see how unhappy the food around her really was? Without an answer to her question, she found herself at the market, facing a bunch of ripe bananas. The bananas had been grown in a beautiful country with the sun on their skin. Their story was of rich soil and a happy farmer who loved his job. I have to eat something, she thought. So I will eat one of these bananas. They have been brought into the world with love. Bananas do not have a family, so they couldn't have been taken away from it. They have never known fear. The girl paid for a banana, but she still felt guilty because she knew that she was ending its story. Before she peeled it, she said a quiet thank you to the fruit. It seemed like the least she could do since it was about to fill her tummy. Then she gobbled it up. The next morning, when she caught her reflection in the mirror, the girl had a fantastic surprise. What she saw there looking back at her was more than just her own face. She saw the banana. It wasn't banana-shaped anymore, but its energy was definitely there, shining from her clear skin and healthy hair, so it wasn't gone either. The banana story had not come to an end when she had eaten it. Instead, it had become part of her story, and her eyes twinkled a little brighter thanks to its goodness. In the days that followed, Sophia chose her food far more thoughtfully than she ever had before. She ate only foods that had been brought into the world with love, that had never had a family, so could not have been taken away from it. She chose foods that had never known fear. In time, she didn't just see the stories that her food told her, she began to feel them too. She realized that the stories of happy foods didn't end as they went into her body. Instead, they became the energy she needed to create her own story. Do you know what else she discovered? As long as she was thankful for it and grateful to the people who had grown it, the food was happy to become a part of her story. So her tummy, as well as her head, was filled with happy tales. Sophia began to wish that everybody could see stories because they wouldn't want to eat sadness if they knew it was there, would they? Would you? That is how she realised that it was very important for her to see stories, and even more important for her to share them. Now, everywhere she goes, she tells people her story so that they can find out where their food comes from, be grateful to the wonderful world that provided it, and fill their tummies with happiness too. And that's the end of Sophia's story. I hope you enjoyed today's Twice Upon a Time. Come back for more stories soon.